This year's Super Bowl ads are proof positive that both brands and advertisers continue to look down on us, and I'm not buying it. I think I'm going to call this hairstyle me at 12 years old. So a lot of glare in the glasses. I don't know how to get rid of that. Maybe if you look close enough, you'll see yourself. Welcome. This is a channel where I make fun of marketing because it doesn't deserve any better. This might sound strange, but I used to enjoy ads, actually. Not like sarcastically, not ironically. I just used to think that they had some kind of artistry or value to them. And so back when I started to lose interest in sports, sometime in high school probably, I would watch the Super Bowl specifically for the ads. And to this day, it seems that there are plenty of people who are fascinated by the spectacle of incredibly expensive ads. The Super Bowl also happens to be the Super Bowl of American advertising. At this point, there are very few live television events, like traditional broadcast television events, that still attract so much attention. And attention is exactly what brands are paying for when they buy out a commercial slot. So it's reasonable to expect that each year's Super Bowl ads collectively represent a cross-section of big budget contemporary advertising. I don't know if this goes without saying, but I didn't watch the Super Bowl live this year. I don't have cable. I don't have satellite. Does anybody have satellite anymore? And I definitely don't have whatever streaming service had the rights this time around. So, to get ready for this talk, I relied on the internet to give me a sampling, a pretty broad sampling, of the most popular Super Bowl ads. And the internet delivered.
Advertisers are spending more than ever on Super Bowl commercials. Google it.
I can't discuss every single ad in detail, and you probably wouldn't want me to anyway. Maybe another time, let me know. Mostly, I was looking for patterns. Going into this, my big question for you is exactly how many times do you think that you could copy-paste your homework without the teacher noticing? Because the creative teams of the ad agencies responsible for these commercials are phoning it in as hard as possible. And I think they're just kind of hoping that no one will notice, least of all their clients. And I'm not saying the same for the production teams, by the way. I mean, a lot of these ads were probably a real pain to shoot, and that's hard work, that takes planning, that takes skill. But in terms of the ideas, I guess let's just say that when agencies start using generative AI to come up with their pitches for new ad spots, the work will be identical to what we're getting right now. Okay, cut to. Broadcast advertising has been heavily influenced by internet culture. That is not insightful for me to say. That's not a take. It's just what has been happening ever since brands realized that they could convert digital spaces into just like a collage of billboards, basically. And while broadcast advertising still feels more formal than their internet counterparts, internet-only ads, I think that the absolutely frantic pacing used in broadcast advertising right now is ripped right from the internet.
She can't spell. Mine!
Now, our keynote speaker.
The majority of these ads just cannot stand the idea of staying on the same shot or even in the same location for more than just a few seconds.
Make it stop! You're crazy.
And despite the try-hard, upbeat tone of the ads, which I'll talk about shortly, they're incredibly dense in terms of editing and definitely in terms of their visual and their oral information. And the reasoning for that seems pretty obvious at this point. So in addition to this general idea that attention spans are constantly getting shorter. Many people just naturally ignore commercials at this point, and especially when we're talking about the Super Bowl, if you're at a party or if you're at a bar someplace, there's a lot of other stuff to pay attention to when the game isn't on. And so most of these ads are just dancing as fast as they can to get you to keep watching, while also trying to deliver messaging that may or may not stick in any way. I would also argue that a lot of these ads are being engineered to work even if you don't have the accompanying sound at all. But maybe that's something we could talk about another day. And of course, I think, that's the big irony here, is that personally, after watching several dozen of these ads in close proximity, all of them trying their hardest to really convince me of something, I now have real difficulty remembering which brands and definitely which products have just been advertised to me. It's genuinely difficult to try, even just the brands. What were the brands? They just blur together. It's just soup. There's probably a car, 1 or 2 cars, not that many cars this year, but you can bet that in the car ads, the cars were driving, and that's about it. Almost all of the ads that I watched for this project had an identical tone. Basically, they're going for some kind of humor or something approaching humor. It's straight down the middle. It's as broad as possible. And it's also incredibly referencey, but I'll come back to that. And what strikes me about this is that this precise tone of advertising humor, frantic advertising humor, has not fundamentally changed for many years at this point. Just as a signpost for when I kind of remember this tone becoming popular, I'll mention the original Old Spice guy ads.
Do you want a man who smells like he can bake you a gourmet cake in the dream kitchen he built for you with his own hands?
This is the exact same tone that we are seeing today.
T&V's Skechers slip-ins.
We're still doing this. There has been no growth here. They just happen faster now. Also, I think despite the attempts to make these ads feel amicable and light on their feet, they still feel incredibly aggressive to me. There's a desperation to them that's a little bit embarrassing, kind of like a stand-up comic who's in the process of bombing as hard as they ever have in their life, and as a last-ditch attempt to pull out of it, they try to make a joke out of the fact that it's not going well. That's how all of these ads make me feel. And in case you're wondering why humor is such a common tactic for advertising in general, or specifically for something like the Super Bowl, it's very simple. Humor, successful humor, I should say, triggers the release of endorphins in the human brain, and therefore it creates a positive association with the ad, typically, even if the humor has absolutely nothing to do with the actual product or service being advertised, which is absolutely the case with pretty much all of these ads. It's just creating that positive association with the brand itself. I'll keep this section short, but I realized that I am now old enough to be the target of Super Bowl advertising. I would say that overall, the Super Bowl audience it's not a young audience. The ads are aiming for broad appeal, so they are, aiming for multiple age groups, but they do tend to skew older. And as I've said before, just the casting of a commercial is a really great indicator of the intended target audience. So when that Aubrey Plaza ad showed up, I had to accept that millennials, even relatively late stage millennials, are now old enough to have backyards and pay attention to the Super Bowl. Doesn't describe me, but apparently the metrics are there. I'm sure that Aubrey is reasonably big with the Zoomers as well, but I think that she's a really clear millennial figurehead. Also, the product that she was hawking here, which is a flavor of soda, by the way, I think is meant to be a nostalgic soda flavor for someone of my age. It just felt kind of bad to think that my peers are apparently settling into their easy chairs and getting excited for old soda. Then again, maybe they're not. I should stay hopeful. Please leave a comment if you're a millennial who just stopped buying soda because it hurts to drink. But the most common pattern, by far, was unintentionally sad celebrity endorsements. Now, celebrity endorsements and influencer marketing are essentially equivalent. We like to act like they're very different things and that influencer marketing is somehow new. Ultimately, they are incredibly similar. So, like many advertising techniques, they are inherently manipulative, which is also why they are inherently undeserving of respect. Showing a celebrity in an ad is supposed to make you think, oh, I like them. I have positive associations with their presence. I'm paying attention now. And if it's specifically a celebrity you really like, it's perfectly natural to feel that way. And with that in mind, I think that using a celebrity to push your product is one of the oldest and the tiredest tactics around. Even if we're just talking about like the history of television advertising, it's been around since basically the beginning. You want to see Ricky Ricardo advertising cigarettes? We got it. It's also just another idea that requires zero effort to come up with. The execution can be difficult, sure, signing them, making sure you pick just the right person, but I'm saying the idea is without merit. It's without creativity. It's without any kind of artistry whatsoever. But I guess the results still speak for themselves on the advertiser side of things, because most of these agencies felt that not only was a celebrity endorsement a fantastic idea, put a celebrity in the commercial, almost all of them thought it would be even better, a surefire hit, to include multiple celebrities in their spot. The meta this year was absolutely to include more than one celebrity. We also have two ads that solidify how the most famous thing about their starring celebrities is and always will be their funny accents.
Neighbor.
Neighbor.
It's the real deal.
Both of these actors have had incredibly, interesting and arguably strange careers. But here, in this context, and I think this is the internet influence again, in a way, they are reduced to their most surface level, their most immediately recognizable qualities. The Blob just strips them down to whatever parts are gonna help them sell stuff. And I guess what I should ask now is, do you think that it worked? Did any of these celebrities being in any of these ads make you more likely to buy stuff from a specific brand? Personally, I think the effect wore off a long time ago for me, possibly because just oversaturation. Celebrities and influencers already insert themselves into our lives for strategic reasons, of course, so much already. This late into the internet age, I don't think it feels special anymore to see a celebrity doing anything. And yet, here they are in droves. Okay, we've talked about the patterns. You've seen the clips. Now, let's see where this year's Super Bowl ads land on the meter. And I promise you, there are ads capable of hitting the very top. These aren't them. Overall, an aggressively unimpressive batch of advertisements. But on the bright side, we can still learn from them. We know that still only the biggest brands can even play at this game. These are brands that are not saddled with the requirement of explaining in any way what their business or product is. They already have a huge amount of brand awareness. They just don't have to do that work. We know that these big brands are leaning heavily on frantic pacing, attempts at some kind of humor, and multiple celebrity cameos, while also completely avoiding any hint of current events and trying to incorporate what I would say are the less threatening or upsetting aspects of internet culture and comedy. Here at the end, I just want to say that I do feel that a lot of these ads are condescending. It's hard to tell if it's just a personal thing. I mean, I know that basically all ads are condescending by nature, but specifically these, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because they are aiming for such a broad audience. I do not believe that people are dumb. I don't know. I see that sentiment a lot online, especially in certain circles. I don't agree with it. I really don't. I think that people generally deserve better. And absolutely in this case, it's not that I want ads to be more effective. I don't want them to sway people, you know, even more than they might be doing right now. But there's something especially nasty about ads that just feel like they're talking down to you and to everybody else. And the funny thing there is it's not even something reserved for like mass market products. Luxury advertising does exactly the same thing. They don't suddenly have more respect for their audiences. They just use a slightly different tone and maybe slightly different tactics to try to manipulate those audiences. Yeah, a bad taste in my mouth just from watching these. And I hope that we can talk in the near future about why accepting the current state of advertising could be bad news for all of us. It's been an interesting exercise for me. I hope it's been sort of fun to watch. I was honestly hoping for more. I was hoping for more meat on the bone, to be honest. I was hoping there were, you know, ads that I could really dig into. But these Super Bowl ads, I tell you, wow. I just felt like, oh, it doesn't matter that I've missed the last 10 years worth of Super Bowls. This feels exactly the same. We've gotten nowhere, but I think that's where I'll leave it for now. Thank you so much for watching the video all the way to the end. I will have more videos as soon as I can. I'm trying to up my game a little bit. I'm trying to get some better a better shooting setup here a little bit, and trying to put a lot into the writing of the videos. It just takes a long time, but that's all I have for you today. Please take care. I'll see you next time.